because the body is clean. I was commanded by the brocade guards all night. The dark room is filled with sweet and tiresome incense. Delicate shelf bed. It makes rhythmic waves. Pink is slow. I faintly saw a pair of overlapping figures inside. Body tearing pain. It made me scream. And the man above didn't stop at all because of my cry. Instead, it is as ferocious as an adult leopard. Until a long time later, cloud burst. Then suddenly there was a slight knock on the door. A deliberately lowered voice came. Adults got the wrong person. Lu Jianen's hand that just picked up the clothes paused and said, Chang Yin's legs outside the door are weak. The one in the hard scalp is not the pink girl. Heaven knows the dignified Genie Wei. There are times when you are so careless. You can get it wrong with a girl from Yichen courtyard. Lu Jinan was just stunned for a moment, looking back at the woman standing on the bed, frowning. Who are you? 4 Eyes relative. I was relieved by the shock. Look around the house. A circle of things that are deliberately hidden in the depths of memory. Little by little, at the age of 15, I just returned to Beijing from Jiangnan Lantern Festival. Make an appointment with the cousins in the mansion to visit the lanterns, but was stunned and thrown into the land of Gulan. Although rescued in time, but it's still a bad reputation. Even if I later married into the Duke of Jing, you can't get rid of the stigma for a lifetime. Even married for many years, husband won't touch me either. Until that day, I just finished serving the old lady of Duke Jing's mansion who was paralyzed in bed. He was stained with excrement. The wound on the face has not healed. New injury. My husband, the current Duke of Yasukuni, but standing a few meters away in disgust. I didn't even look. Pass a letter of divorce directly, promising to get married at the beginning. It wasn't my intention. May it have been real years now. We don't have to do this anymore. This is the divorce letter. You can do it yourself in the future. In the blink of an eye, my beloved second cousin, with a high and raised abdomen, tell my sister, you bombed the wife of the prince for real years, and the position of the duke's wife. Now it's time to give it back to me. My brother-in-law loved me from beginning to end. He never liked you. In the blink of an eye, it seems that we have arrived at a vast grassland again. The father lay there bloodied, surrounded by a pack of wolves still biting. The voice of the second cousin is still in my ear. Sister and uncle have no sons anyway. It's better to die sooner. Pass the title to this. It also completes our family, and your family can be reunited in the underworld. I don't understand that I've been compromising my whole life. Why did it end up like this? I was suddenly awakened by this sentence. Looking at the stranger in front of you. I don't know why I was born again. Why is it different from the previous life? I only know that I was left like this. We're going to make the same mistakes we made in our previous life. I beg you. I asked in a trembling voice. That's right, this guy. It's the dreaded commander of the Jinyi Guard. Lucian was also the brother of my last husband. I just don't know how he got here. See you on the loop. Cold in the dark eyes. Rain just looked like two people in bed. He glanced at the hand that was grasping his 100. He waved his sleeve lightly. Leave me begging goodbye and leave me. Okay, Luji and hummed invisibly. Like no hum. Leaving with lazy steps. The figure of the man has disappeared at the door. I grabbed the clothes scattered all over the place, wrapped in his body and chased out. The carriage was already moving when it came out. I can only follow behind and run as fast as I can. Come out in a hurry. I didn't even have time to put on my shoes. I can only stumble and expose the soles of my feet. Delicate jade feet are bloody. Despite this, it's still a bit difficult to chase. It's his young age. Just went through that intense. I'm exhausted. Fortunately, the carriage finally stopped at an intersection. The long shadow whispered to the Lord, go straight to the house of the champion. Reincarnated back to the Duke of Jing. Lu Jinan finally opened his eyes slowly. I caught up too. I also saw the fork in the road. A little nervous. There is still no movement in the adult carriage. I looked to Chang Yin for help, but adults don't speak. Chang Yin didn't dare to say anything, and I took a breath. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone what happened tonight. Just, can you give me a ride home? And in the end, sound dripping. Wen Ying, in my previous life, I knew how cold-blooded this person was. Still no sound inside. I close my eyes, hands into fists. Seems like a lot of determination. Tao can promise adults one thing. No matter what you ask me to do, I all agree. Lu Jinan seems to be very interested in this sentence. A finger with a long sleeve gently picks the corner of the driving curtain. Lazy voice. Tell me why I have to send you back. And I looked up at him. Deep eyes seem to be able to see into people's hearts. Unconsciously speak your mind. I want you to testify for me. I don't want to get a bad reputation. Haha. There seemed to be a happy laughter coming from the carriage. Lucian's eyes surveyed him from beginning to end. Finally, stop somewhere. Palm up. Said something unclear. Just the right size. I read something in his eyes. Her cheeks were red from running. Reddened twice. Lucian said two words faintly to Changjing. Get off the car face. Lazy on the soft couch. Close your eyes and rest. Changjing hurriedly comforted. A woman with a pale face. Don't worry, girl. The Lord has agreed to take you back. The carriage is moving slowly again. I am happy. Carry the wide hem of the clothes and continue to trot behind. I dare not relax. I quickly went through the subconscious things in my mind. The carriage finally stopped in front of the Champu's mansion. The camel that happened to be about to go out was shipped out. Looking at the familiar carriage in front of me, go ahead and ask. It turned out that the conductor made the adults come to the blessing at night. Can I help you? Lu Jinan did not get off the carriage. Just lift the curtains. Lazy Marquis. Stay safe. Young people are cold. Nice eyes. Young. He has already sat in the seat of the commander of the Genie Wei. The reputation of the world in the dynasty has always been bad. Then he suddenly came out of it. Glanced at the carriage. Although I can't see the people inside, but the dignified conductor makes the Lord's carriage. Everyone is surprised. Deliberately lower your voice, big brother. Lord Lu is coming so late. Do you know Yar? I sneered that it was indeed the last life of the second uncle's family. After marrying into the Lu family, he endured humiliation and stole his life. I'm just afraid of smearing the wise father. But I didn't expect my father to go one step ahead of me. Think again about the words that fell like snow before I died. The father has only one daughter. He died with his father. The son of the second uncle washed his father's title. Luo Ruxue also got her wish, sitting on the position of wife of the prince of the government of Jin. No wonder before death, Luo Ruxue dared to say those words to herself with a big belly, because he was sure he couldn't walk out of Jin government mansion. I can't squeeze in. Under the wide hood, only a stunning little face was revealed. Looking at Li Shi with a smile. Naively ask what you know. Second and Li looked surprised. Blurt out, why are you here? I tilted my head and asked otherwise. Where should I be? Li's recovery. Smiling twice. Glanced at the carriage. Hesitant second and. I heard you were kidnapped by bad guys. How can we do this? A good daughter's family is innocent. Just like that, Li Shi is still hanging her head and wiping tears. Another beautiful figure ran out of the mansion, and he grabbed my arm. Elder sister, they all said that you were caught by the bad guys and went to Yichun courtyard. Is it true? Did anyone treat you, despise you? Wiping away tears. Sad brother. Brothers and sisters know that you feel sorry for Yanner. But look at Yanner, wearing men's clothes. How can I explain this to the Lu family? The Duke of Jin has two direct sons. Eldest son. It is this famous conductor in front of you, my lord. The mother gave birth during childbirth, unfortunately passed away. Duke of Jin remarries his second son. That is, the current son of the Duke of Jin. It was born to the current Duchess of Jin, because in the early years, the old man Luo had a good relationship with the old Duke of Jin. The marriage of the children is set. I am the future wife of the Prince of Jin. Therefore, he followed his father back to Beijing in the future. The marriage of the two wives has been scheduled for March next year. There is still more than a year to go. Who knew this happened just after returning to Beijing? Watching the Li mother and daughter play get bigger and bigger attracted all the servants in the mansion. I watched silently. I think it's almost there. Just about to step forward. A lazy voice suddenly came from inside the carriage. Lord Hu, I don't know that you still have actors in your mansion. It's just that this gun was thrown. As soon as you leave the hospital, I'm afraid no one will want it. See someone come forward. I shut my mouth for a moment. Luo Ruxue, who had been spoiled since childhood, relying on the indulgence of the elders in the family. Some don't know the sky and the earth. Lord Lu, thank you for rescuing my sister from Yichun Garden today. Otherwise he wants to make the truth of my defilement. What should I do? There is no response in the carriage. Luo Ruxue, who was left out, looked a little unsightly. Just about to speak, I saw the long shadow take a step forward. Lord Hu, today I am waiting to be arrested by the order of the emperor. Criminals, but criminals are cunning. turn into women's clothing and hide in the Jade Pavilion, in order not to alarm the snake and attract the criminal. Lord Lu had no choice but to seek. Ling Changjin, who happened to pass by, helped. It's an emergency. I didn't say hello to Master Hu. Please, Hu Yi Haiyan. Luo Ruxui couldn't help but say, what happened to the clothes on my sister? Cheng Ying glanced at him. Dao criminals are cunning. Deliberately spilled the tea. We adults are worried about the health of Miss Luo, in order not to attract anyone's attention. So I chose this one. Luo Ruxui doesn't want to miss this opportunity today. In a hurry. The tone is a bit like a question. When the truth comes out, the surroundings suddenly became quiet. After a brief silence, another cold voice sounded from the carriage. Jinny Wei service. Even the emperor never questioned. Cheng Yin is the long shadow approaching, when no one saw clearly how he did it. If the screams of snow have pierced the sky, Ruoxu's half face, even at night, also visible to the naked eye, red and swollen. There's a trace of blood on it. The long shadow takes a step back. Speak up, Miss Ruo. Now you are a first offender. I only used one city's skills. Next time slender Jinny Wei again. I'm welcome. Press my face. My face is in front of the whole Hu mansion. Are filled with Luo Ruxu's sharp cries. Punished by Jinny Wei. Even if Luo Ruxui is not reconciled, don't dare to say anything. He only worries about his face now. In case the appearance is destroyed, Luo Ruxui dared not think too much. Run back to the mansion in a panic, yelling for a doctor. Lu Jinan looks at me, a smile on the corner of the mouth. My heart skipped a beat. Just listen to the other party slowly speak and be a girl. My surname is Lu. Lu Jin Enk remembered. Pick up the epilogue. If someone else sits down, it's a little light, but this person is the commander of the Jinni Guard who kills without blinking an eye. Legend is not close to female sex. Just try to make your tone sound normal. Salute to the carriage. What happened today? Thank you, Commander. Lu Jian chuckled. You're welcome, Miss Luo. It should be my gratitude. Don't worry, I won't forget Miss Luo. There will be a period later. The carriage has left. It's quiet again in front of the door. I am several times colder. I don't want to be with this person, or have anything to do with the Lu family. Lord saw him standing still. Go forward and care. But what's going on? I shake my head. Go up and take my father's hand. Soft voice, Daddy. You come with me. Go back to your yard. I waved back the people around me who served me, crying and tearing off the broad cloak. The whole person is exposed. The dress is a little messy. Even those embroidered shoes are very embarrassing. It also appears to be stained with blood. Luo Dan's eyes widened, shaking his head in disbelief. However, I smiled slightly. Dad, guess it was just at the door. Why did the second aunt and the second sister say that? Luo Dan is not good at arguing, but that doesn't mean he's stupid. On the contrary, it can be guarded for more than 10 years. And the dignified champion who the Japanese pirates dare not commit. How can it be an ordinary generation? Precisely because it was just outside the door. He knew something was wrong, so he indulged Lu Jinan's subordinates. Lesson Lu Ruxui. I looked at my father, some distressed. Step forward and take his big hand that is rough and dissatisfied with the thick cocoon. Dad, not everyone can be called a relative. Luo Dan's heart is a little sour. He always thinks he can take good care of his daughter, and he has done that for years. Just didn't expect. They just returned to Beijing. Some people can't hold back. However, tell your father, what the hell is going on tonight? I told you everything that happened tonight. And of course, I didn't tell that guy anything. Only that he was stunned by the robbers at the time. When the other party is willing to do something wrong, Lucian just happened to arrive, saved his life. Luo Dan finished listening. Lift them on your forehead. How dare they? And I sighed. Go up and take my father's hand. Softly say, Daddy, daughter told you this. It's not to make you angry. Don't worry, your daughter escaped this time. I will be careful in the future. I will never let them hurt me again. Luo Dan touched the bottom of his soft hair. Silly children are only thieves for 1,000 days. There is no truth to preventing thieves for 1,000 days. Don't worry, my brother will never let you suffer in vain. I shake my head, Daddy. If they dare to do so, he must have figured out a way out. Don't say we have no evidence now. Even if you catch someone, they will also have various reasons to wash off. Ended up willing to slap the table. You can't just let it go. I step forward gently, hugging my father's waist tightly. Daddy, I know. Leave this to your daughter. It's easy for dad to deal with second aunt, but that cuts off the trail of finding out who's behind it. Might as well keep them. When he finds out who ordered the second room, there's still time to deal with them. The daughter is like a wife's eyes. No matter how hard Luo Dan's heart is, he can't help but soften. He nodded with difficulty. Daddy believes in you. Just you have to remember, don't force yourself to do anything. If you need your father, just ask. I'm not okay. Daughter remembers. Sent away father. The whole person finally collapsed on the bed, under the light service of the maid. I take off my dress. The marks on the body are clearer. The snow peak is red, blue purple at the waist, and those straight, slender thighs. There's just no good place. Look at the chest. Suddenly I remembered that the man had said something. Suddenly blushing like blood. Just reborn. Facing a situation that is completely different from the previous life. Zhu Shi was in tears. Just closed my eyes. After a while, he fell into a deep sleep. It's quiet here. The west courtyard of Duke Jing's mansion is brightly lit. It is often seen that adults do not say a word, staring at the clothes on the tree bank. I don't know what I'm thinking. Daring to find out, my lord. That glass of wine. It was served by a little maiden concubine Cao's palace. It was for the crown prince, but accidentally got into his mouth. Lu Jian's lips are slightly hooked. Too much coincidence is no coincidence. You put this down first. Help me ask the emperor for something. Cheng Yin immediately perked up. He said he was plotted. Adults can't just let it go. Lucian held up a finger. Lightly pick up a pink belly pocket embroidered with plum blossoms. After getting the slow track, together with these, send them to the champion's mansion. The next morning, it's not Yuking who was woken up by the noise outside, but I saw Yuking come in with an angry face. Maybe I didn't expect him to wake up. Yuking didn't have time to put away the expression on her face. He asked what was going on outside. Yuking hesitated for a moment. Angry, not yet. The second lady just hurt a little bit on her face. I can't wait for the whole house to let him. If you are sick, go to the doctor. Can you eat a bird's nest? Besides, if you want to eat it, buy it yourself. Why do you want miss? This is what the emperor bestowed upon his master. What does it have to do with them? Listening to the babbling of kissing in my ear, I smiled bitterly. Even you understand the truth. It's ridiculous that I died once before I figured it out. In the last life, because of the rhetoric of the second aunt, any good thing is willing to give to Luo Ruxue. Even when I knew he liked his husband, he also magnanimously arranged for him to enter the Lu family's door. By the way, the old lady also sent someone here this morning. Miss, you went back before you woke up. Put away your thoughts. The hour hand is about the same. We should go and greet grandma too. Presumably Luo Ruxue is already complaining now. Sure enough, I just entered Ningfu Hospital. Haven't waited to enter the house. I heard the girl's aggrieved voice inside. Grandmother, you don't feel sorry for Cher anymore. My sister doesn't feel sorry for Cher anymore. I want to eat bird's nest this morning, but the people in the kitchen said it was for my sister. Say nothing to make my maid fat. I watched from the sidelines. I don't know if my head was squeezed by the door in my last life. Still got kicked by a donkey. Luo Ruxue cried for a long time. That's right, but no one in the room can see me. They all looked at him in unison for a while. Mrs. Luo sighed, didn't wait to speak. I knelt on the ground, make a muffled sound. It seems to hit everyone's heart. Mother is granddaughter. Sorry to worry you. Li Shi and Luo Ruxue didn't seem to expect it either. I will give in so easily. He didn't say a word. Then suddenly footsteps sounded outside the door. Not waiting for the maid to notify, I heard a hearty laughter. Ouch, old girl. I didn't say you. It's New Year's Eve. Why is it so quiet in your yard? With the sound, I can see the little figure kneeling on the ground. Stop abruptly. Mrs. Luo secretly screamed in her heart. Just about to speak, the face of the person who came changed. I hear movement. Slowly let out a sigh of relief. Finally, there is the same thing as the previous life. Live again. At first I heard a familiar voice. Remembering the deep thoughts in every letter from my grandmother, and my uncle sent someone to Jiangnan every year. A truckload of gifts. I can't hold back the tears anymore. This scene fell into Mrs. Shen's eyes. It hurts more than two people bending their hearts with a knife. Come up and hug me. Sad. My word, what's going on? The royal family on the side couldn't help but wipe their tears. He looked at the boy with a sneer. Mrs. Luo, What mistake did our Yanner make? For the new year, let him kneel on the ground. Mrs. Luo listened, pale with anger. Mrs. Li hurriedly smiled and said, "Oops, good sister, we are also wondering." As soon as Yanger entered the house, he knelt down. "I didn't wait to ask. You're here. Finish talking." Wang asked rhetorically, "Why can't I believe that Yanger will kneel for no reason?" Mrs. Luo frowned. "Step forward and help Mrs. Shen." "Okay, old sister, have something to say." Glanced at me again. See the warning. I looked up at Mrs. Shen and Mrs. Wang. Show a smile. "Mother-in-law, Yanger is fine. Yanger is just so happy to see you. Grandmother is unfilial. I haven't seen you for so long. Please come over on a big winter day. I feel guilty. And sister, don't be angry either. It's all my sister's fault. Didn't sleep well last night, and then she got up a little bit late. I didn't know the maid next to you came to ask for bird's nest. If my sister knew, definitely won't drink it. I will definitely send it to my sister." Saying that, he looked at Li Shi. "Auntie, don't be angry. Father received a lot of rewards yesterday, but that was all rewarded by the emperor. Yanner doesn't dare to call the shots at will. If the second aunt likes anything, you can tell Yanner." Yanner went to beg her father. "There are people here. I can hear it clearly in a few words." "What?" "I don't know why Yanner knelt down. It's not that you didn't drink the bird's nest in the morning. Does one want something? As for a little girl who just returned to Beijing." The sarcastic eyes of Mrs. Shen and Mrs. Wang. Li Shi laughed awkwardly. "You child, what bird's nest? What reward? I don't understand anything. I'm confused. When Yanner came in just now, aren't you and your second sister still getting along with your grandmother?" Mrs. Luo interrupted me. He gave Li Shi a cold look. "Sister, don't listen to this children's nonsense." "Just kidding." Mrs. Luo pulled Mrs. Shen to a seat. Glanced at me again. "My goal is not so simple. Pretend not to see Grandma's warning." I deliberately went up and took his arm and fell. "Grandma, Yar happens to have something to discuss with you. It just so happened that my grandmother and Anne were there. You also help Yar make an idea. See if I'm right." Mrs. Luo has a bad premonition. When she doesn't care what Mrs. Luo is thinking. Hear me say that. Respond happily. "Okay, just say what Yar wants to do. If Mrs. Luo makes it difficult for us, we will not force it. The Shen family is still somewhat useful. Just don't let your child down. Obviously, you have to call the shots for me today. My heart is warm. Swear secretly. In this life, I must not let the Shen family be like the previous life." Madame Shen also nodded. I gratefully saluted my two relatives. Then he looked at Mrs. Luo's grandmother. "Yar also just listened to her second aunt's words. Just had this idea. The second aunt just mentioned the emperor's reward. Yar has lived in Jiangnan with her father for so many years. I don't know much about Beijing, but still, the marriage has been settled. Yar can only do her best. Don't lose the face of the Shen family. Only when in Jiangnan. My father misses me and was weak since I was a child. Mammy takes care of everything in the belly. Returned to the capital. Yar should learn about housekeeping. Save yourself from being laughed at later. My mother died early. Thanks to my grandmother for so many years. Only then can the father feel at ease to serve the court outside. Grandma is old now. Although there is a second aunt to help, but the granddaughter couldn't bear to add trouble to the grandmother. So Yar asked her grandmother, leave her mother's dowry to Yar, so I could give my grandmother some leisure. Second, Yar can also learn to be a housekeeper. Mrs. Luo saw that he had this idea. Completely relieved. It is said that Lord's pregnancy is now highly regarded by the emperor. Even if it's just a petty official, the Luo family will not end up with the reputation of occupying their daughter-in-law's dowry. It should be. I was going to spend some time. Mention it when you're almost rested. But you thought of it first. I'll let Mammy take you to handpick it in a while. Mrs. Luo happily agreed. It just so happens that the Shen family is also testifying. He is happy to see it happen. Thank you, grandmother, for the sympathy. And on the father's side, last night my father said to exercise me, deliberately gave me all his private property. So the second aunt just mentioned those rewards. Mrs. Luo frowned. There are 3 rooms in the champion's mansion. The first and second rooms are both Mrs. Luo's own children. The third room is concubine. The second master, Luo Duan, served as the sacrificial wine of the Guozijian. From Sipin, the annual salary is not enough for him to run the official business. Everyone in the mansion is pointing to Lord Yan. although ancestral property plus lord's salary, enough to eat in Fuzhang, but the emperor's reward is a large part of it. Divided like this, the cost in the palace will definitely be affected. Mrs. Luo was a little hesitant. The royal family, who had not spoken, suddenly spoke in surprise. What? Does Master Luo's private property also have to be confiscated? So is the second master. As soon as this sentence comes out, Luo Ruxue looked at her grandmother nervously. Of course, the private property of the second house cannot be confiscated. What's more, how can the second house have any private property? What he wears on weekdays, most are rewards from the eldest uncle. If this part is to be married by Luo Yan, then he will go out to banquets in the future. Isn't it going to be laughed at to death? I don't agree with that. Luo Ruxue finally couldn't help but make a sound. Madame Shen raised her eyes and glanced at him lightly. The royal family also sneered at the old lady. Your marquis, since when is it a little girl's turn? Luo Ruxue argued with a white face. I didn't mean that. I just feel like we are family. Families shouldn't be so clear-cut. Wouldn't that hurt the relationship? The royal family laughed. I don't know what that means. Why don't you hand in the assets of a big country? Then please tell me about you too. How is the room emotional? And I laughed, and shot. What is Luo Ruxue? Sure enough, Luo Ruxue didn't care. He looked at Mrs. Luo with tears in his eyes. I whispered to my second sister, you act like my aunt bullied you. Elders speak. The younger generation should not have interjected. It was at someone else's house and clapped long ago. It was Grandma who read it on your face and heard it. I can't bear to blame. I hope you don't make it difficult for Grandma. When she seemed to have just seen the wound on his face. Surprised, Miss Luo, how did you get this face? I have seen a doctor. What if there is a scar? It will be difficult to get married in the future. Luo Ruxue's business news is always not good. What if the emperor found out about this crime? It's not about a face coming down. How dare you invite an imperial doctor? Mrs. Luo is a little displeased. She glared at Luo Ruxue. You have nothing to do here. Go down, Luo Ruxue. Even if you are not reconciled, I dare not go against my grandmother's words. I had to go down to discuss with my mother. Just don't wait for Luo Ruxue to move in to rescue the soldiers. Luo Dan came over. Those who march to war pay attention to cleanliness. After saluting Mrs. Shen, just make a final decision, dear. Tooth is right. My son used to be in Jiangnan, the big house that the second siblings helped manage. No one can say anything. Now the emperor has ordered me to stand by in Beijing. If you still trouble the second siblings to spread it out, it won't sound good. Why don't you take this opportunity to give it to Fanger? As for the mother and steward after the son gets married, that's it. Mrs. Luo can't hold on any longer. I had to nod in agreement. Claims to be unfamiliar. It happened to involve the mother's dowry. I asked my aunt for help. Busy is happy. It's too late. How can you refuse? After the Li family heard the news, suddenly messed up. Looking at that house full of treasures now to be handed over, Li is busy trying to remedy it. At the same time, I tried my best to buy time. The savior knew it well. No hurry to bring chairs. Sitting in the yard. Look at Li. I'll see the steward later. Busy with other things later. Wait until he really drags it over. In the end, Li had no choice. Just pretend to be dizzy. When she looked at Li Shi, who was carried away, touch my head and you can't kill everyone. Almost woke up. And I understand that. Not but understand. Thank you for today. Sent away my grandmother and aunt. He went back to his yard. The next step is to think about how to dissolve the marriage. Come out of Ningfuan. I ran into an uninvited guest. I stood and looked at each other vigilantly. The long shadow endured the pain on his body to know. Double penalty, if not for his good foundation. I have long gone to report to Lord Yama. How can I still come to the champion's mansion now? If the girl is asked by our adults to hand it over to you. The long shadow holds a long Qi river. Stand 3 steps away from me. I glanced at the box. Dao, what is this? Chen Jing shook his head and his subordinates did not know. The subordinates are just following the orders of the adults. Come and bring it to the girl. I purse my lips, I don't want. Take it away. Long shadow flash. Stand in front of him. Girl Dodo. We adults say, to avoid trouble, please accept it. I could hear the threat in his words. My hands were shaking with anger. Take it again. Tang Ying breathed a sigh of relief. Some apologies, if the girl. Please forgive me, no need. Never see you again. I walk away quickly. Go back to your yard. holding the box lightly, a little overwhelmed. Miss, this is not thrown away. I don't even look. Then I picked up my mother's dowry list. Pretend to look again. Not again. Turn around and go out. I suddenly said wait. Zoom in. You go out first. I thought about it and thought about it. Then he got up and walked to the box. I hesitated for a while before opening it. When you see what's inside, it was on fire. If someone is there right now, I can't wait to go up and stab him. I saw the finest carved lacquer box. The woman's small clothes are neatly stacked inside. I picked up the scissors next to me, cut that little dress in 3 or 2 strokes. Then I saw another letter below. Irritable tearing. Suddenly one fell out. An enamel box not much bigger than a thumb cap. Open the box. There was only one brown pill in it. Exudes a strong medicinal smell. I don't understand. I took the pill and looked at it twice. Picked up the envelope again. Sure enough, there was a note inside. It says boiled pig balls. In the beginning, I still don't understand what these 3 words mean. And there's a little line of text down there. Probably the ingredient in the pill, musk saffron. I just realized what this pill did. Not angry. Instead, thank the person. No more hesitation. Just boil the tea at hand and take the pill. It avoids trouble in the future. The Duke of Jing's mansion stood outside the study. Adults, the goods have been delivered. There was a faint reply inside. Did you eat again? Chang Yin ate. No doubt. Lucian raised his eyebrows. Pretty smart. Chang Yin said it's just that Miss Lu was very angry when she saw the clothes at first. Take the scissors and cut them all. Lucian, stop the pen. Look at your palm. Fingertip twist. Put it on the tip of your nose and smell it again.